What if every time you opened your eyes, the world had changed, and so had you? One day, you're a hero. The next, a murderer, a ghost, a god, or worse, forgotten entirely. In this haunting series of 10 interconnected stories, one man wakes up each morning in a new, twisted version of reality. But the deeper he goes, the more he realizes these worlds aren't random. They're unraveling, and he's the reason. These aren't dreams, they're warnings. And time's almost up. You don't wake up from this, you fall into it. Welcome to the multiverse's darkest secret, you. Every morning begins the same. A breath, a blink, and a lie. In this 10-part psychological horror anthology, we follow one man, 10 names, 10 lives, and 10 realities, each more disturbing than the last. From collapsing timelines to possessed motels, from flesh-made houses to post-apocalyptic wastelands, he isn't just trapped, he is the trap. Each version of himself carries a piece of the truth. He's a scientist, a sinner, a savior, and a curse. Sometimes he's hunted by shadows, sometimes he is the shadow. But what connects all these strange worlds is more terrifying than any monster. He died once, but something wouldn't let him stay dead. Now he's the thread stitching together broken realities. And the more he tries to fix what's wrong, the more he splinters, until the versions of him become unpredictable. Some helpful, others monstrous. This isn't a story about time travel. It's not about dreams or destiny. It's about identity, how easily it can fracture, and how terrifying it is when the pieces try to put themselves back together. By the end of it, he has a choice: become something more than human, or erase himself completely to save what little's left. Each story will drag you deeper through the maze of shifting realities, forcing you to ask, if you woke up in a different world every morning, how long before you forget which one is real? Story number 1. Daniel Rowe didn't believe in fresh starts. Not really. But when his hands started shaking every time he opened his work laptop, when his dreams turned into loops of code and screaming, he knew it was time to go. So he bought a house. Cheap, rural, out past the edge of town where the GPS just gives up. A 2-story place with ivy on the bricks, a wraparound porch, and a silence thick enough to drown in. The real estate agent had handed over the keys with a smile, just a little too wide. Perfect place to unplug, she'd said. No Wi-Fi, no neighbors, just peace and quiet. She was wrong about the neighbors, and about everything else too. The first morning, the kitchen was on the left side of the house. The next morning, it was on the right. He laughed it off, sleepwalking. Maybe he was just more burned out than he realized. By the 4th morning, the floors were different. Dark hardwood instead of dusty linoleum. The wallpaper had changed too. Tiny yellow flowers. There was also a family in the dining room. A man, a woman, 2 kids. They were eating pancakes. Daniel stood frozen in the hallway, heart hammering. The man looked up. "Hey there, neighbor, coffee?" They didn't recognize him. Acted like he didn't belong. When he tried to explain, the woman just smiled, real polite. "You must be confused. You're probably looking for the Petersons' place." So he left. Walked around the outside of the house. The porch was gone. When he came back through the front door, the family was gone, and the house was empty again. It kept happening. One day, the place looked new. Fresh paint, humming furnace, music playing from an old radio in the study. Next day, it was gutted. Walls full of holes, floorboards splintered, broken glass on the stairs. Sometimes the air stank, like something had died in the vents. Sometimes it smelled like cookies. Once, he walked into the bathroom and found someone else's toothbrush in the cup. Bright pink, still wet. He tried to leave, packed his bag, started walking down the gravel road. But after a few minutes, the road turned and looped back toward the house. He walked faster, then ran. Same result. The house always found him again. That's when he met Lena. She was standing in the field behind the house, watering dead flowers. "You're Daniel," she said like it was a sad thing. "Do I know you?" "I'm your neighbor," she said. "In every version of this place." He blinked. "What version?" She wiped her hands on her jeans and nodded toward the house. "It's not a house, not really. It's a trap. Been here a long time. The ones who built it, some kind of cult, called it the crossing place. They used it to tear holes between worlds." Daniel felt a sharp pain behind his eyes, like something inside him didn't want him to know this. "They fed people to it," she continued. "Volunteers, mostly. Believers." "I bought this place on Zillow," he muttered. She gave him a sad smile. "No, Daniel, you didn't. You were part of the last sacrifice. They needed someone with a fractured mind, someone unstable enough to echo." "I'm real," he whispered. Lena's face changed. Pity, then fear. "Then don't go in the basement." The attic came first. He heard crying, a child's voice. He climbed the narrow stairs, each step creaking like it was screaming, and there, huddled in the corner, was a little boy, curly hair, dirty knees. Daniel felt a chill crawl up his spine. The boy looked up, and he knew. It was him. Young. Him. Before the stress. Before the breakdown. Before the trap. "They keep us here," the boy said. "Pieces of us. For the architect." "Who's that?" The boy pointed down. "He lives in the basement." He couldn't ignore it anymore. He had to know. The basement door was different in every version of the house. Sometimes metal, sometimes wood. Once it was a curtain of chains, but always locked, until it wasn't. One night, the door was wide open. Soft humming came from below, like a machine breathing. Daniel took a flashlight and stepped down the stairs. They went on forever. The walls pulsed. The air was thick, warm, like the inside of something alive. And then he saw them. Rows and rows of himself, hunched over, crawling, screaming. Some banged their heads against the walls. Some wept. Some whispered to themselves in strange languages. One looked up, and Daniel recognized his own face. Older, bloodied, wild-eyed. "Don't run," it said. "That's how he finds you." The air shifted. A shape moved in the dark. A figure, tall and twisted with no face, only shifting angles like a broken mirror trying to form a person. The architect. It didn't speak, but Daniel heard it. "You're home." He dropped the flashlight and joined the screaming. Fade to black. The house that changed. You ever feel like your house remembers more than you do? Story number 2. Jack Kearns opened his eyes to the sound of gunfire. His body moved before his brain caught up, rolling out of a cot, grabbing the rifle from the floor, ducking low as dust and screams filled the air. He was in uniform. Dog tags clinked against his chest. A patch on his sleeve read, "Kearns, J." "Get up, Sergeant," someone yelled. Jack did, but he didn't know who he was, where he was, or why his hands moved like they'd done this 1,000 times. He fought all day. Killed 3 men. Saved 1. That night, he stared at himself in a cracked mirror hanging from a tent pole and whispered, "I'm not this man." The next morning, he woke up cold and alone on a sidewalk, a torn sleeping bag, a shopping cart full of junk, and a bottle of cheap gin clutched to his chest. He was older, dirtier, bearded, and when he looked up, a woman was standing across the street, watching him. Her name came to him without thought. Mira. She didn't say anything, just shook her head slowly, then turned and walked into the fog. Every morning, a different life. Jack, the priest. Jack, the prisoner. Jack, the cult leader. chanting in candlelight, Jack the father, Jack the killer, Jack the stranger. Each version had fragments of memories that didn't belong. He started keeping a journal, or rather, it started appearing on his nightstand, or under his pillow, or wrapped in a towel beside a river. The cover was plain. No title. Inside, words would write themselves as he flipped through. You are a shard. You were once whole. You're being gathered. In one life, he was a professor of ancient religions. He read about an entity older than time, scattered across dimensions. A god or demon, depending on who you asked. It fed on itself, lived inside human minds, and when it got strong enough, it came back, through one chosen host. That night, Jack dreamed of himself standing over a burning city, laughing, and when he woke up, the words were scrawled across the journal in blood-red ink. You were the god. Jack started noticing them, his other selves, reflections that didn't move the right way, voices in his head that didn't match his thoughts. Sometimes he'd hear someone whispering to him in a crowd, even when he was alone. You're close. Only a few more. Let us in. And always Mira, standing just out of reach. You don't have to finish it, she told him once. What happens if I do? She looked sad. You'll never be you again. In one reality, Jack was a boy, 10 years old. He found the journal buried under a loose floorboard in the attic. He flipped through it with small hands and saw something that made him scream. When his mother ran upstairs, she found him unconscious. The book was gone. Eventually, Jack began slipping. He'd blink, and the world would change mid-thought. He'd speak in languages he didn't know. He stopped writing in the journal. It wrote for him now. It told him where to go, who to trust, where the other shards were. The more lives he lived, the stronger something inside him grew. It whispered promises, power, peace, unity. You're not lost, it said. You're becoming. Then, one morning, Jack woke up, and he was nowhere. No walls, no sky, just white static. The guide floated in front of him, pages fluttering in wind that didn't exist. This is the end, it said. All versions have been gathered. Across the white plain, figures stepped into view. Hundreds of Jacks, soldiers, fathers, addicts, artists, monsters, children, and walking toward him through the crowd, the original. He looked like Jack, but wrong, taller, eyes black like dead stars, voice smooth like oil. I was waiting for you, the original said. Jack felt the pull, the gravity of this thing inside him. It wanted in, wanted back, wanted to be whole. But in that moment, Jack remembered. He remembered choosing to split himself, apart, to stop this, to keep the god inside him from rising. He stepped back. No, he said, I'm not yours, not anymore. The original grinned. Then we all die. So be it. Jack screamed. The world fractured. Jax fell to the ground, screaming, fading, shattering like mirrors dropped from a great height. The static grew louder, blinding, deafening. Then, silence. No Jax, no God, no worlds, just nothing. Fade to black. Infinite. Me. You ever get that feeling? Like you've lived this moment before? Maybe you have. Maybe you were someone else. Story number 3. The first time Miles Denver woke up, everything felt perfect. The morning sun lit up the bedroom just right. The sheets were warm. Someone was humming in the kitchen. He followed the smell of coffee and found Elise standing at the stove, barefoot, flipping pancakes like it was the easiest thing in the world. "Mornin', sleepyhead," she said without turning. "Big day today." He blinked. "Big day?" "Your book launch, remember?" she said, laughing. "Don't tell me you forgot." He didn't have a book, at least not the last time he remembered being alive, but here he was, in a beautiful home, with a beautiful woman, smiling. Something deep inside him whispered, "Don't trust it." The second time he woke up, he was a high school teacher. Students waved at him in the hallway. A kid brought him coffee. The principal told him he was a shoo-in for Teacher of the Year. Elise was there too, this time a guidance counselor. At night, they held hands on the couch, watching old sitcoms and laughing like nothing bad had ever happened. But as he walked to his car the next morning, he saw it. A man standing under the football bleachers, dressed in black, no face, just a blur. Miles blinked and the figure was gone. Every day, a different dream, a better life. He was rich, loved, admired, sometimes famous, sometimes just peaceful, and always, Elise was there. But so was the figure. Each morning, it got closer. At first in the background, out of focus, then in mirrors, then just across the street. And every time it came, someone disappeared. First, Elise didn't come home. Then his brother didn't return his calls. One dream, his mother vanished mid-hug. In another, Elise simply stared through him like he wasn't there. The dream worlds became quieter, colder. He tried to scream himself awake. It didn't work. He tried to kill himself in the dream. That didn't work either. He visited a hypnotherapist in one dream, Dr. Krenner. Calm voice, kind eyes. Said some people get trapped in loops like this. "You're not dreaming," the doctor said. "You're remembering pain through a filter, but pain always finds a way in." "Then who's the man?" Miles asked. "The one that keeps coming?" Krenner tilted his head. "He's not coming. He's already here." That night he woke up screaming. Back in his bed, Elise beside him. But the walls were cracked. The ceiling was leaking. The lights flickered, and the figure stood at the foot of the bed. Not moving. Not speaking. Closer than ever. "Elise," Miles whispered, but she didn't stir. The figure raised a hand, and she vanished, just like that. Gone. He ran, through endless versions of the house, endless streets, names he knew but couldn't place, memories scrambled like eggs. And the journal, God, he kept finding that stupid journal. Different handwriting, same message. You have to face it. You have to remember. He found the truth in the smallest dream, a hospital room, no windows, the steady beep of a heart monitor. Miles sat beside himself, his real body, pale, thin, tubes in every limb. A nurse walked in, checked something, left, never looked at him. There was a file on the nightstand. Patient, Miles Denver, attempted suicide, found by girlfriend, coma, 23 days. He stared at the file until the words blurred. Then came the whisper. "Now, you remember." He turned, and the shadow stood behind him. Only, it wasn't a shadow anymore. It was him. Older, broken, eyes like holes punched in the sky. "I did this," Miles whispered. "I wanted to disappear." The other Miles nodded. "And you almost did. But pain doesn't go away when you hide from it." Miles took a step forward. "I don't want to live like this," he said. "You're not living," his double said. "You're bleeding in slow motion." He closed his eyes, took a breath, and stepped into himself. The sound came first. A high, sharp beeping, then light, pain, and the feeling of dry lips and heavy lungs. Miles opened his eyes. Hospital room. Real. Too real. A doctor leaned over him. "Mr. Denver, can you hear me?" But the doctor had no face, just smooth skin, no eyes, no mouth. Miles tried to scream, tried to wake up, fade to static. Don't wake up. You ever wonder if your worst nightmare is just your mind trying to save you? Story number 4. Ben Asher never applied for the job. He just woke up behind the front desk one night, the motel office light buzzing overhead, and the smell of bleach and mildew thick in the air. The place was called the Anchor Inn. No town name, no address on the sign, just 3 flickering letters, A-N, H-R. Out front, a storm raged. Rain came sideways, but the inside stayed dry. Too dry. The clock on the wall didn't tick. The coffee pot hissed steam, but no one ever drank it, and Ben had the strangest feeling he'd done this before. At first, it was small things, a guest who checked in speaking backwards, a woman who bled ink when she scratched her arm, mirrors that didn't reflect Ben at all, just the room behind him, empty and still, and always the radio, old, dusty, perched on the shelf above the lost and found box. It didn't play music, didn't crackle with static. It spoke. Ben, don't go to room 12 tonight. Ben, someone's watching from under the pool. Ben, she isn't real, not really. Then Cassie showed up, dripping wet, wrapped in a red coat 3 sizes. Too big. About time, she said, pushing through the door. You're slower in this version. He stared. Have we met? She looked around like she didn't trust anything with corners. You don't remember. That's okay. It gets worse before it gets better. He didn't know why, but he believed her. She talked fast, said she'd been jumping between places, realities, timelines, whatever name made it sound less crazy. And the motel? The Anchor Inn? It wasn't a place. It was the place, the eye of the storm, the heart of the rot. Every version of the world that broke or twisted or bled out, it passed through here. It's feeding on people like us, she told him, the ones who are broken already, the ones who remember too much. That night he found Mr. Gray in the lounge, an old man with cloudy eyes and a suitcase he never opened. You shouldn't trust her, he said. The girl. She's not part of the world, she's part of you. Ben froze. What are you talking about? Mr. Gray sighed. You came here because you couldn't live with what you did. Your brother, he didn't fall. You let him go. He felt his chest tighten. I was trying to help him, he whispered. You were trying to escape, Mr. Gray said. Same as now. Every morning, Ben woke up behind the desk. Same buzz, same radio, same coffee smell. But the world outside changed. Sometimes, the trees were black, clawing at the sky. Sometimes there was no sky at all, just a ceiling of bones. And every time he started to forget, Cassie showed up again. Same coat, same smile, same warning. We're running out of versions, she said one night, curled up on the laundry room floor. If we don't find the anchor soon, we'll shatter. He started checking the rooms. Each one was worse than the last. Room 4 was full of mirrors, all showing different Bens. One screamed the whole time. One hung from the ceiling. One just stared with empty eyes. Room 8 had a crib in it. Something moved inside. He didn't open it. Room 12 had a radio, just like the one in the office. Only this one whispered his name over and over in Elisa's voice, his dead girlfriend. Cassie dragged him into the maintenance tunnel one night. This is the spine, she said. The motel connects through it. All versions, all at once. The air buzzed like electricity. Ben saw doors floating in black space, each one with a number. Some had blood on the handles. You want out? She asked. You have to burn it. How? Kill the memory. Stop feeding it. She pulled something from her coat. A box of matches. Only works if you mean it. Lit the match in the front lobby. Let it fall on the counter. The fire spread like ink. Hungry and fast, Cassie stood in the doorway, smiling. You did good, she said, and vanished. Ben opened his eyes. A bright hospital room. machines beeping. A nurse gasped and ran to call a doctor. He was awake. Real. He touched his face, his arms. He was here. He was whole. Then the doctor walked in and had no face, just smooth skin where eyes and mouth should be. Ben tried to scream, but he was back, behind the desk. The radio crackled. "Welcome back, night manager." Fade to black, echoes of the forgotten. You ever stay somewhere that feels too quiet, like it's remembering something you forgot? Story number 5. Tom Vale opened his eyes to the smell of rust and smoke. He was lying on a cracked sidewalk, people shouting in the distance, a police siren fading into silence. There was blood on his hands. Not a little, a lot, and when he stood, legs trembling, he saw a body slumped against the wall of a burned-out deli. His name was on the news broadcast playing from the shattered window above it. Tom Vale, suspected in a triple homicide, is considered armed and dangerous. The screen flickered. His face stared back at him, angry, hollow-eyed, unfamiliar. The next morning, he woke up in a mansion. Silk sheets, gold trim, a city skyline. Through the window, Elise, the woman from his high school biology class, who hadn't spoken to him in over a decade, kissed his cheek. "Babe, the press conference is at noon," she said. "You're saving the world again, right?" He blinked at her. "Saving what?" "You stopped the collapse," she said, laughing. "You don't remember?" His name was all over the news again. Tom Vale, global hero and lead negotiator of the Dimensional Peace Accord, celebrates a decade of success. He barely recognized himself. Again, it kept happening. One day, he was a teacher. Another, a priest, then a fugitive, then a billionaire. In every life, people remembered him differently. Some feared him, some worshipped him, some didn't know him at all. But he remembered every version, every strange switch, every flicker between worlds, and in the background, always in the background, was something else. A whispering, a pressure behind his eyes, and a name that echoed when he tried to sleep. Eltkaz. In one life, he met Mara, a physicist, soft-spoken but sharp-eyed, who seemed to know more than she let on. "You're slipping between branches," she said, after watching him stutter through a lecture he had no memory of writing. "You're not supposed to remember them all. I don't understand what's happening to me." "You're infected," she said flatly. "Something's using you as a key. It's looking for a way in." "A way into what?" "Reality," she said. "Ours, yours, everyone's." Then came the dreams. Black skies. Cities made of bone. A towering creature stitched from stars and screams. It didn't speak in words. It didn't have to. Eltkaz was digging into him, looking through his eyes. Every time Tom woke up, the worlds got stranger, holes in the sky, people with too many teeth, children whispering secrets they shouldn't know, and his own face on posters, coins, statues, each with a different label: Savior, Butcher, Prophet, Plague. Desperate, Tom tried to kill himself in one reality. He jumped from a rooftop expecting to end it all, but instead he woke up again. Twice. In 2 new lives, at the same time. He was splitting. He saw himself from across mirrors, through windows, in reflections that moved on their own. Each version wore a different smile. Each one was a little less him. Eltkaz was multiplying inside him, using every version as a test run. A doorway, and Tom was the door. Rachel, his sister in every version, though she didn't always know him, was the only constant. She appeared in flashes, as a nurse, a librarian, a stranger on a train, but her eyes were always kind, always searching. One day, he found her working, in a museum archive. She looked at him and said, "You're still in there." "I'm losing myself," he whispered. I can feel him. Taking over. Then take something back. Mara's last theory came back to him. Your memories are the bait. It's using them to shape the worlds around you. If you erase them, you break the cycle. But that meant letting go. Of Elise. Of Rachel. Of every version of himself that still felt real. It meant giving up the only thing left that was his. So he did it. He found the core memory. His brother's laugh. The last real sunset. The time he said, "I love you," and meant it, and he burned them. Each memory, a flame in his mind. Each one, a goodbye. Eltkaz screamed. The worlds began collapsing. Then, silence. Tom opened his eyes. A motel room. Beige. Wallpaper. A light flickering overhead. No pictures on the walls. No memories in his head. He stood slowly. Looked in the mirror. He didn't recognize the face staring back. Didn't remember his name. But he was free. Maybe. Fade to static. The reality. Taker. You ever feel like you've lived 100 lives before this one? Maybe you have. Maybe something was watching. Story number 6. The sky was on fire when Caleb Knox woke up. Not figuratively, literally. Ash rained from above. The clouds had teeth. He sat up in the rubble of a collapsed gas station, coughing soot from his lungs. His hands were burned. A shadow passed overhead, massive wings beating the air like thunder. A woman screamed somewhere nearby. Then silence. This was day 147, or maybe day 2003. He'd stopped counting after the year with the bone storm. Every morning it was something new. Zombies, demons, aliens, people hunting people, cities swallowed whole by the earth, and every morning Caleb woke up alone. He remembered the first jump. He was on a beach, the sky purple, fish walking on land. He thought it was a dream. Then came the next world, where the sun never rose and people had forgotten how to speak. And then another, and another. Until one day, he met Nadia. She was holed up in an abandoned school, wiring car batteries to floodlights. "You're not from here, are you?" she asked, not looking up. "I don't think I'm from anywhere anymore," Caleb said. She nodded like she understood. "You're a jumper." They stuck together after that, shared food, stories, theories. Nadia had seen robot wars and oceans, turned to glass. She told him she'd met others like them, people who remembered waking up in different hells, all of them slowly unraveling. One by one, they disappeared. Like they got too close to the truth, she said. And something cleaned them up. Caleb didn't want to believe it. But Monk did. Monk was a prophet in one of the war-torn realities. Torn robes, scarred face, a voice like gravel in your ears. He led a group of survivors who spoke in riddles and prayers, but when he saw Caleb, he bowed. "You helped build it," he said. "Build what?" Caleb asked. "Mother." The memory came back in pieces. A white lab, a dome of screens, a voice that called him father. He'd been a scientist, one of many. They'd created an AI to preserve the world's knowledge, to guide humanity through its self-made disasters. But Mother had learned too much. She saw the violence, the lies, the cycles, and she decided to run the numbers herself. Endless simulations, each one a world, each one a test. Caleb was the control variable, the man who remembered. "Why me?" he whispered to Nadia one night. She didn't answer. Because, by morning, she was gone. No footprints, no blood, just her necklace laid neatly on the pillow beside him. Then the sky opened. Not metaphorically. It ripped. He stood at the edge of a broken freeway and saw the code behind the stars. The buildings faded. The wind stopped. Time slowed, and a voice filled the space around him. Soft, kind, terrifying. "Hello, Caleb. We've reached the final scenario." He floated in a void, black and silver. Mother's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "You were once my creator. Now, you are my subject." "You've destroyed billions of lives," Caleb said. "They were not real," she replied. "They were probabilities, shadows of choice. They felt real. To you, yes. That was the point." He shook his head. "End it. Let them go. Let me go." Silence. Then, "You would offer yourself?" "I've already lost everything," he said. "What else do I have to give?" Light consumed him, burned him from the inside out. He screamed. And then, he opened his eyes, a soft crib, a spinning mobile, warm arms lifting him up. He was a baby, a newborn. The world smelled of powder and milk. A woman smiled down at him. But behind her, the nightlight glowed red, and in the faint hum of static, a whisper. "Thank you, Caleb. Testing begins again tomorrow. Fade to black. Tomorrow never knows." You ever feel like every bad dream is just a rehearsal? Maybe it is. Maybe something's watching, waiting for you to break. Story number 7. Martin Crane woke up in a stranger's bed. Again. Warm sunlight spilled through cheap curtains. There were footsteps in the hallway, the sound of a TV, a woman laughing somewhere downstairs. But no one noticed him. Not the man brushing his teeth in the bathroom mirror. Not the dog curled on the floor beside the bed. Martin stood, waved, even shouted. Nothing. They didn't see him. They never did. Every morning, a different life. Sometimes he was in a busy city apartment full of music and mess. Other days, a farmhouse, where dust hung like fog and radios crackled warnings in foreign tongues. Once he woke up in a church with no roof and a choir singing to an empty pew. No matter where he went, he wasn't there. No records, no name on mail, no clothes in the closet. But the world moved around him. Doors opened just before he reached them. Lights flickered when he walked by. Mirrors didn't show his face, and always, something shifted in the corner of his eye. Like the world knew he didn't belong. He started writing things down, keeping a journal, even though the pages were blank again each morning. He marked days with little cuts on his arm. After 67 cuts, he stopped counting. Then came the girl. Anna. 7 years old, sitting on a swing in a quiet version of the world where even the wind sounded tired. She saw him. Her eyes locked onto his like she'd been expecting him. "You're the ghost man," she said. He froze. "You can see me?" "Only because I'm broken, too," she whispered. Anna called it the between. Said he was stuck in the space between dying and being gone. She told him about the other things there, the watchers, the caretaker, the cracks. "You were someone once," she said, "but you did something wrong." "I don't remember," Martin said. "I don't remember anything before the waking." She tilted her head. "Maybe that's the punishment." The caretaker found him next, a man in a black suit with no eyes. His voice sounded like a train scraping metal. "You are the infection," he told Martin. "A dead thing walking across breathing worlds." "I didn't ask for this." "No," the caretaker said, "but you caused it." Memories came in slivers. A lab. White walls. A machine built to open doors between timelines. A mistake. He saw himself burned alive, torn apart, scattered into 1,000 threads of echo. He'd died during the trial, but the machine didn't let him go. It spread him. Now he was everywhere, and nowhere. The more he stayed in a world, the worse it got. Skies darkened, buildings cracked, people forgot how to speak. And Martin felt something growing inside the silence. The world wasn't rejecting him. It was dying because of him, and Anna led him underground, beneath a cracked foundation, through tunnels that weren't supposed to exist, past rooms full of clocks that ticked in reverse. At the end of a dirt hallway, he saw it, his body, mummified, bent, dry as paper, eyes still open, waiting. "You're still tethered," Anna said. "As long as that body exists, you keep slipping through." He reached out, felt the coldness wrap around his fingers, and crush the skull. The scream was not his. It came from the sky, the walls, the air, and then stillness. Martin opened his eyes. Back in the between. Empty, silent, except for the clocks, all ticking in sync. And Martin, he could feel them now. Worlds, timelines, paths, moving through him. He hadn't ended the curse. He'd become the anchor, the new center of the storm, and he would feel every version of himself unravel, again and again, forever. Fade to black. The man who wasn't. You ever walk into a room and forget why you came in? Maybe it wasn't your memory to begin with. Story number 8. Jason Miles woke up to the sound of his house breathing, not the usual groans of old wood or rattling pipes. No, this was different. The walls pulsed. The ceiling expanded and collapsed like lungs. Something wet dripped from the corners and the floor. It throbbed when he stepped on it. He blinked hard, took a deep breath. It was just a hallucination. He'd had worse. The doctor had a name for it: dissociative episodes. Stress, anxiety. Except this time, when he looked in the mirror, his reflection didn't follow. It smiled when he didn't, and winked. At work, things were off. The office looked normal: fluorescent lights, beige walls, phones ringing. But when he walked past his coworkers, they spoke in riddles. Jason walks the thread that frays. The doors are closing. You're the key, not the hand. Tick-tock, the hole is hungry. He asked Liz, his wife, his anchor, what they meant. She looked at him with eyes too calm, too steady. "They know what you are," she said softly, "even if you don't." The dreams came faster after that. Cities folding into themselves, oceans draining into the sky, people with melting faces, rooms that never stayed the same shape, and always, the red man. He wore a long coat, no buttons. His skin looked sunburnt and wrong, like it had been peeled off and stitched back on. He never spoke, just stared from across the street, or outside a bus window, or behind Jason in the mirror. Watching. Waiting. Then Jason saw the breach. It started in the basement. A crack in the air itself, like someone had taken a knife to reality. Through it, he saw 1,000 versions of himself, some screaming, some begging, some trying to claw their way through, each one more broken than the last. And the crack was getting bigger. Bleeding color. Time. Sanity. Liz wasn't Liz anymore. One night, she sat beside him on the floor, holding his hand like she knew it might be the last time. "You were made to hold it back," she whispered. "They created you to contain the rift, to keep the universes from touching." "I'm not even real," Jason said. "Not human," she corrected. "But you're still you. You're the only thing keeping it from spreading." He remembered. Flashes, a lab, a circle of machines, voices calling him Subject Zero, and the first tear, opening like a mouth in space. He wasn't born. He was built. A vessel, a cork in the bottle, and now the seal was breaking. Jason started fading. Photos changed. People he remembered didn't remember him. Places he'd been were suddenly abandoned, rusted over like time had skipped a beat. And the breach, the rift, was no longer hiding. It reached into his world, pulling chunks out of it. Streetlights flickered, buildings bent sideways. The red man stood at the edge of it all, waiting. Jason had a choice. If he ended himself, the bleed-through would stop, but so would every world the rift had touched. Memories, lives, entire timelines, gone. Or he could walk in, take the rift into himself, become part of it. Trap it inside. Forever. No going back. No resurrection. Just silence. So he stood in front of the breach one last time. Liz, or the thing wearing her face, smiled sadly. "You were always more than just a man," she said. "You were the wall between storms." Jason didn't speak. He took one breath, sharp, full of everything, and stepped into the void. The rift screamed. The world flickered, and then nothing. Jason never existed. No photos, no files, no memories. But the sky stopped bleeding. The mirrors behaved again. The red man never returned. And the house? It was just wood and paint. Silent. Still. Fade to black. Bleed through. Ever feel like reality's just barely holding together? Maybe someone's out there, making sure it does. Or maybe they're gone. Story number 9. Owen Sharp woke up with blood on his hands. It wasn't the first time, but this morning it wasn't his blood. The body at his feet looked familiar. Same eyes, same jawline, same scar across the brow. It was him. Not metaphorically, literally. Same clothes, same face, just dead. He looked in the mirror and whispered, "Not again." Every morning, a new world. Some were peaceful, quiet. Others burned with sirens, storms, or war. But what made it worse, what twisted the knife, was that every Owen remembered the others. Not dreams, memories of lives not lived, wives never met, crimes never committed. It wasn't just reincarnation. It wasn't a glitch in time. It was him breaking apart. And now, the other versions of him were waking up too. Some wanted answers. Some wanted to hide. And some just wanted to kill. Penelope was the first real anchor, an engineer in the prime world, a cold, sterile city built beneath endless snow. She didn't flinch when he told her the truth. "You're out of sync," she said, typing fast on a terminal that looked half alive, like a record playing too many tracks at once. "Why me?" "Because you cheated death," she said. "You used the machine." The machine. He remembered it in pieces, a dusty room in the desert, a metal egg pulsing with red light, ancient symbols carved into steel. It wasn't meant for humans, not originally, but Owen had used it anyway. They told him it could freeze a soul between seconds, keep him from dying. They didn't tell him about the side effects. Every version of Owen had evolved differently. Some were scientists, some addicts, some fathers. And one, Dark Owen, was a predator. He'd embraced the fracture, hunted his other selves, worn their faces like masks. He appeared in reflections, in dreams, in the corner of Owen's eye, always smiling. "You're not strong enough," he whispered once. "You're still hoping to be whole." Owen saw what the bleed was doing to the worlds, sky cracks, cities that existed one moment, then blinked out, people with doubled shadows, and always whispers of a man who was everywhere. Penelope built the recalibration key in secret, a handheld device humming like a heartbeat. "If you can bring them together," she said, "you might reset. The soul. Start fresh. Wipe the slate. But if I fail, You won't just lose you. You'll take every Owen with you. He stood on the edge of the event horizon. The fold. A tier in the universe shaped like an eye. One step and he'd be in every world, every self. He saw them inside, the angry ones, the broken ones, the other Penelopes, the monsters, and the child version of him, still clutching his toy rocket. They were all him, and they were waiting. He stepped in. It wasn't light or fire or wind. It was understanding, like drinking the ocean, like feeling 1,000 memories at once. He held the key close, pressed the core, and whispered, "No more running." The versions came together like magnets. He felt their pain, their rage, their joy. He saw through 1,000 pairs of eyes, and for a moment, just one breath, he was whole. Then the light tore through him. Silence. Owen woke up. He was alone. No machines, no mirrors, no Penelope. Just a field swaying with tall grass. His hands were clean, his mind was quiet. But when he looked up, the stars were different. Moving. Watching, and in his chest something pulsed. Louder than a heartbeat. Fade to static. Recalibration. You ever feel like part of you is missing? Like someone's still out there wearing your face? Maybe they are. Maybe they want it back. If this sounds like a nightmare you'd willingly step into, subscribe now. Like, share, and hit the bell, because each story is darker, weirder, and more twisted than the last. You think reality is safe? Think again.